What do you say, everybody? Welcome to the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. We're going to watch as the current college football playoff rankings are released. Where's Alabama going to be? The top 8 continued to win. There's only 8 teams that could win the championship. So we're going to look at that, and we're going to talk about that. But first, let me welcome you guys to our channel. And we know that you guys are all number 1 seeds, and we want you to make sure that you're part of what we're doing here. Like and subscribe to the Bama Tailgate YouTube channel. Give us a thumbs up if you like Alabama content. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let's get this thing going. All right. I love the open. That's Chad Anderson, okay. The real. No, this Chad is real. This Chad is real.
Not the others, just this one.
Just this guy. And I'm Mick Gillispie that can't speak right now. We're going to watch as the current rankings are released. And we keep waiting each week, Chad, for someone to lose a damn football game, and they just never do. So if there's some changes, and we did have a change. Remember, Ohio State was 1, and then Georgia passed them. So it's not impossible. I look for Florida State to probably drop, right, and be passed by maybe Washington, who had, I thought, a really good win at Oregon State on Saturday. And then, Bama's kind of just like in that Dale Earnhardt spot at Talladega, where you're about to give up on the number 3, right? You see the number, you remember the number 3 coming around in that black car. They called him the Intimidator. That's like Nick Saban driving in there like this, And then next thing you know, at the end of the race, who wins?
Always.
Right.
Always
Earnhardt.
the man. Yeah. This is what's so frustrating. I want to throw this up there real quick because this is the part that just pisses. We almost missed the open because I'm sitting here going on a rant, and Mick's like, "Hey, we got to get going." That's how it is. So
Jump into it.
Like, here's the resumes, guys. This is updated just a minute ago. Look at this: 6, 7, 8. This is where we stand now. Rankings haven't come out tonight, but I don't see any change coming from the committee. Like, why are they going to change 6, 7, or 8 at this point based on what happened last week? Like, Oregon blew out Arizona State. No big deal. Who cares? I mean, you did what you were supposed to do. Bama whipped Chattanooga's ass. We all knew that was going to happen. Texas struggled a little bit on the road at Iowa State. But if you watch that game, you should know that just from watching it, Texas actually dominated that game. Texas played much, much better than Iowa State. They had 2 touchdowns called back on a penalty, fumbled inside the 10. They had some stuff going on that night. But I just look at this. Mick, what category does Oregon beat either team?
Yeah, none. I mean, they don't have no wins against the top 25, which to me is, or what's the one win against the top 25?
It's Utah, but Utah probably isn't ranked tonight.
Yeah, Utah's not going to be in there. They got destroyed by Arizona. Now they're done, right? There's no top 25 wins anymore for Oregon. So that could be a move. Maybe the committee moves Texas and Alabama up ahead of Oregon. Could that happen? I mean, you can't slot Alabama back because they've gotten stronger and stronger each week. They're the one team in this that if you just put these 8 teams in a tournament, it'd come down to them and Georgia in my estimation.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan, Ohio State, both are good football teams. I think Washington would get beat up by Georgia or Alabama at this point.
Yeah,
I think Alabama would give them the elixir for about 55 minutes.
I saw some elixirs in the comments section, by the way.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
I love the elixir. We need to get a T-shirt branded elixir.
Let's do it, man. I've been yelling that at football games since Mark Ingram.
It's so good. It's so good. But yeah, I look, and if you're, the committee has a tough decision because they do sit here and go, okay, we got to get the 4 best teams, but you also have to get the 4 most deserved teams that get into the playoff. Like, just somebody may have 2 losses and you say, hey, like Alabama last year, to be honest, Alabama would have been favored against a lot of other teams, but you can't lose 2 games and expect to get into the playoff. So, but at some point, you got to look at this whole body of work thing and just realize, look, Oregon does not deserve to be ahead of Texas or Alabama. I'm fine with Texas. Their resume is technically better than Alabama's. They beat Alabama. I'm fine with Texas being ahead of Alabama. No problem with that. Oregon at 6 is what chaps my ass like every single week. I just don't get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Now, Oregon's one of those teams like Michigan and Ohio State that has a game and someone's going to lose, right? They played before. It was a classic, and Washington ended up outlasting Oregon. So, if those 2 teams play again and Oregon wins against Washington, I think it helps Alabama in the long term, because for Alabama to get there, they're going to have to go down and take care of Auburn, which honestly, let's just be honest about that. We care about that game here, right? It's a rivalry game, and it is. And Alabama better be ready to go. Like Saban said, you better be ready to go because it is a rivalry game. But if Alabama wins, they're going to be like, well, Alabama should have won. Auburn stinks. If you lose, then, obviously your season's over. If you struggle, they're going to be like, well, Alabama struggled. That environment's going to be tough. But Alabama's going to have to be their best, right? Then you go and play Georgia, and then, obviously that's like Clash of the Titans. I mean, that's 2 superpowers, right? And it's Alabama's opportunity to kind of straighten out this whole myth that Georgia has a dynasty and Alabama doesn't. I think it's a myth buster, because when they won their championship, they lost to Alabama.
Yeah, you can't beat Alabama one time in the last 15 years and claim that you have the dynasty, okay?
Yeah, right.
Georgia got to win the national championship last year without playing Alabama. And Alabama didn't deserve to be playing Georgia. They didn't win their division, but Alabama was also a much more worthy opponent than LSU in that SEC championship game. Although Bama didn't make it, they didn't deserve it. They're doing the top 25 right now. This is what I think, or this is my top 10. They're getting ready to roll it out.
Is this your top 10? This is the Chad Anderson top 10.
This is mine. This is my top 10.
Okay.
I've already missed, though, because they have Penn State at 11. I would have had them at 10.
Okay. I've counted down.
Yeah, I flipped Washington up to 4 over Florida State because of the big win over Oregon State on the road. Right. Florida State losing Jordan Travis. Obviously a problem there. Like I said, I would have had Texas 6, Alabama 7, Oregon 8, Louisville 9, Penn State at 10. They currently have Arizona at 15, LSU 14, Oklahoma 13, Ole Miss 12, Penn State at 11. And I'm not even a big Penn State fan.
Well, so what's that put Missouri at 10?
Yeah, see, I'm just I don't know. What the Missouri thing is just weird to me.
Yeah, but they're good.
They are. But I don't know. The SEC East, they beat Tennessee. They lost to Georgia. They lost to LSU. They did beat Kansas State. That was a good non-conference win for Missouri. That was early in the year. I would actually, so B. Lee's over here in the comments about Washington and Florida State. I'd actually bet money on that right now. I'll throw a super chat down if B. Lee wants to wager on
what?
On Washington being over Florida State tonight.
Ooh.
I think that happens.
Okay.
I'm pretty confident in that one. I'll buy a beer out of Mick's kegerator.
Okay. I'm not going to drink it tonight. I did a podcast with Jake Coker already today, so I've had my limit on beer. Yeah, I'm curious about that too.
Let's see what else happens here.
I agree. I think Florida State slides back because of Jordan Travis, and they struggled against North Alabama.
This is what I think the committee, or this is what I'm still waiting on the committee. Sorry, Louisville.
Yeah, I'm
10.
switching my TV while you're talking.
Yeah, Louisville's at 10. They'll put Missouri at 9. I don't know that Missouri, in my opinion, deserved to jump 5 spots for beating Tennessee. I mean, they struggled against Florida. Had to win on a last-second field goal.
But the 8 under the 8 though. Under the 8, once you get past the 8th spot, whether it's Oregon or Alabama, it's like the cliffs in Tuscaloosa. Did you ever go there and jump off the cliffs to go swimming?
No.
You know, like you never went there, Lake Tuscaloosa. You just jump off the cliffs. People out there, it was like a party scene. That's how it is. Like once you get past the 8, the 9 is the cliffs. Like you're just jumping into a pool of water. Sorry. I can't believe you didn't go there.
I didn't. Missouri is 9. Louisville 10. Alabama's 8. I still don't get it. Not that the win over Chattanooga was going to bump Bama over Texas or Oregon.
Right.
But I just, Oregon, I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well,
it's one I'm going to talk about forever because it makes no sense.
It's been such a weird season, though, to think that you're as good as Alabama, but you're still in the 8th spot. But I kind of like it.
Texas
for one reason only, is just because I enjoy the kind of the hunt that Alabama's on right now. That's the only thing. But other than that, they're better than Oregon. They'd be favored against Texas if they played them again. They'd be favored against Oregon. They'd be favored against all those teams except probably Georgia. Oh wait, no, they're favored against Georgia. So who the hell are they not going to be favored against?
They're favored against Georgia?
Yeah, 1, right?
Did that change? The last I saw, I don't know. I hadn't looked at updated lines.
I'll check again, but I had them at 1, favored by 1.
The last I saw was Georgia at 3, but I know it bounced around from 1 to 4. It could have changed. I just haven't kept up with that one. Oregon is 6. We do have that. No surprise there.
So are you buying beers? Oh, you're right. Look, Georgia's now 4.5. Well,
no, okay. I'm talking. I say that Washington leapfrogs Florida State. If Florida State's 5, I win the bet.
Okay,
we're not going to find out.
So we're not there yet.
They got Oregon at 6. It's like they knew it. They knew exactly what to do here with the TV setup. So I don't know. I was trying to go back and see if Kansas State is ranked. I'm sure
they're Chad's rankings on there, by the way. I think people are getting confused.
Sorry, those are mine. Let's take those down since they're out live now.
And you can
that was that was what I would do.
Everybody's like, what the hell?
Everybody,
Chad. That's if Chad. That's playoff predictor Chad Anderson there throwing that up.
Not even predictor. That's just what I would do if I was in Grapevine.
Right.
Looking at the resumes. We keep saying it's going to work itself out. We are at the point now where you start to hit the panic button a little bit. There's 2 weeks left, Mick. There's only 2 weeks left.
Yeah.
And if you got Oregon and Washington going to play each other, unless Oregon State, which everybody who was a Beaver fan last week, you better be an even bigger Beaver fan Friday night. Guns up for Texas Tech. They're on the road at Texas Friday night.
But what about Florida? You pulling for the Gators? You're going to wear your jean shorts now?
Yeah, jorts for sure. Yeah, jorts for days, Mick. Yeah. Gator chomp. We're doing this all day Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
Gator man.
Yeah.
Florida
Steve
man.
Irwin Day. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, Florida man. What's a good Florida man story you got?
I think you just Google it, right? Like Florida. If you just
put it on your birthday,
Florida man. Yeah. Google Florida man and whatever comes up. I mean,
should I tell them about what you were saying before? That if Florida wins, that you'll grow a mullet?
No. I couldn't grow a mullet. It wouldn't even be possible. No.
Yeah, you could try. You could try, and then you could get your wife beater with like some jorts.
The jorts, yeah,
and Crocs.
Oh, the Crocs with socks.
Crocs with socks. My son's got those Crocs everywhere.
Georgia's won. They go top down here.
Oh yeah, so this is they moved Florida State down, and that's going to end up being that's a sign that Florida State's kind of like because a lot of people were saying, what if they won out but everybody won out, and even though they hadn't lost because they don't have their quarterback, could that possibly, could keep them out of the playoff? Maybe not. They're not one of the best teams anymore.
Ohio State is 2. Yeah, that topic of discussion has come up a little bit already of does Florida State get left out? Because let's say it was down to Georgia playing Florida State or Texas. And because say Florida State goes undefeated, Washington goes undefeated. So you got Georgia, the winner of Ohio State, Michigan, and Washington as 3. Then Florida State and Texas are left, assuming Florida State goes undefeated. Do you take undefeated Florida State without Jordan Travis or Big 12 champion Texas with 1 loss?
Right.
That's been the topic of discussion due to the injury, because it actually says the committee can leave a team out or move them down if there's a significant injury. That would be ballsy, though.
I just don't think it'll happen.
Or we're about to see. Michigan's 3, so it's down.
All right, here you go. Here you go. And if they weren't making that move, we wouldn't be at this spot right now, would we?
I agree. Yeah, the reason for the suspense is because they flipped them. They flipped them. They have to.
There you go. This is for a beer and a super chat. You put a lot.
I don't know that he agreed to it, but I threw it.
You put a lot of money on the line today.
Can you quit building it up and just release it? Like
you have come in. I don't know who's putting more suspense out there, you or them.
I want to know if I won my non-alcoholic beer or not. I want to know if I won my super chat here.
What are some of those? Have you tried any of those non-alcoholic beers?
No, I've tried.
Apparently, they're good.
Washington is 4. They did do it.
They did it. Okay, so you're right.
Super chat. Yeah,
I got you a beer in the kegerator over here.
All right. So Washington's 4. Now, but here's the thing. So if you're Florida State, you don't care. I mean, you do, but you don't, because Ohio State still plays Michigan. So again, you're not out.
Right.
And remember, Mick, we talked about this on our Sunday rollback, which if you guys missed on the channel, you need to go back and check that out. On the Sunday rollback, we talked about Bama's really 5 right
now. Yeah.
I know
worth explaining again too, probably.
Yeah. Okay. So I know they're 8, but look, guys, they're really 5. And the logic on this is Bama has to beat Auburn and Georgia. Well, Georgia's currently ahead of Bama, so that would make Bama 7. They would leap over Georgia at that point. You would have to. Ohio State's going to play Michigan. One of them's going to lose. SEC champion 12-1 Alabama would be ahead of that loser. The SEC champ 12-1 Alabama who beat Georgia would be ahead of Georgia. Washington and Oregon are going to have to play again. One of those teams are going to lose. So you've got 3 teams in front of you that have to lose and that will lose in order for Alabama to make the playoff run. So Bama's 5. And if you're an Alabama fan, you're looking for Washington, Oregon chaos. You're looking for somebody to help you out and beat Texas, or you're looking for Florida State to lose. Right. So here are the 3 scenarios, Mick, that I have. And that is on number 1, Texas losing would be the best because it eliminates them from the conversation who beat Alabama. It would be nice just to get
They're blocking us is what you're saying.
Yes, correct. You got to get them out of the way. They're probably not going to beat or lose to Texas Tech, but they could lose in the Big 12.
Where's Mike Leach when you need him?
Seriously, man.
Don't you miss him?
Miss that guy.
Loved him.
So that's one. The Big 12 title game, I prefer Kansas State to be the team that plays Texas. I think they have the best shot of winning that game.
Right. They lost to him in overtime.
They did, and K-State won the Big 12 last year. So they know how to win that game in Dallas.
Right.
So but that's one situation that would really help out Alabama. Another is Florida State just losing to Florida or Louisville.
Yeah.
That would clear the path. That would help out tremendously. The last is, I think you want well, if Washington's undefeated, you definitely need Oregon to beat Washington. But I still think you got to hope if Washington wins, which they're going to beat Washington State and be undefeated going into the Pac-12 title. You need Oregon to beat Washington. And then you need to have that win over Georgia. And you need to have the committee staring at the resumes going, we had Oregon ahead of Bama the entire time. And Bama just beat the darling, the two-time defending national champion, the Dogs, who won 29 in a row up to that point. Bama beat them, and you need the committee to say that win is good enough to leap over Oregon and put Bama ahead of the Ducks.
Yeah, yeah. Well, how about the fact that we've never seen a season like this before?
Ever.
I mean, like it's never happened where the teams keep winning and winning and winning, right? And it's like, and there's 8 teams that could win a national championship. The only reason why I think Alabama's odds aren't higher as far as being one of those teams is because they could do everything and still not make it. You know, and what kills them is the scenario where Washington, Florida State, and Michigan or Ohio State all win, and then there's 3 one-loss teams for the one spot. And I bet you what they would do is they would cancel out Alabama and Texas and end up taking Oregon. Wouldn't that be some shit? They couldn't. I'm sorry. No, they wouldn't. They would take Texas over Alabama because Oregon would be gone.
Yeah, I would think. And what's going to be interesting is how big Alabama's win hypothetically over Georgia is to the committee. That's what Alabama's hanging their hat on. Let's put this back up for a quick second.
Okay.
This is the resume comparison, and notice Alabama's strength of schedule, because we have to update this every week. It's gotten worse because of the opponents. They don't have any opponents on the back end. So after LSU, Kentucky kind of fell off. Chattanooga, obviously, Auburn, even if it could be a tough game because it's on the road, it's the Iron Bowl, it's still not a schedule helper. So this is going to continue to get worse for Alabama until you play Georgia. And then it'll bump itself back up. But that's not helping because it's going the wrong direction at the moment.
Yeah, look at that. Texas strength of schedule is up to 9.
Yeah. Right. Cool. Well, they played Alabama.
Yeah, right.
So that helps.
Oregon, Texas was at 63rd.
Oregon is 63.
Oregon 63rd. Yeah. So that's pretty bad. But I wonder why they are ahead of Texas and Alabama. I guess just because their loss was such a good loss. But really, if you want to get into that, Texas lost the shootout to Oklahoma. You know?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. That's what I can't figure out is Oregon literally has no top 25 wins.
Was it beating Coach Prime? And as much as I like Coach Prime, hasn't everyone beaten him at this point?
They're not going to a bowl. Aren't they 4-7, I think now? 4-7.
It's been a tough year. They got off to a great start, and things have just kind of unraveled for Coach Prime. And I think that they'll eventually get it all figured out, but not this year. But yeah, you look at the games that Oregon's played. What's your signature win? You said Utah. They got hammered by Arizona.
Hammered.
Killed. So it's like they lost this game and they lost that game and they lost this game. Like they haven't really beaten anybody. And winning against USC this year isn't a big deal.
No. That's a joke. That team's turned into just an abysmal joke. Chip Kelly was about to get fired. We haven't heard him being fired yet. But he was on the hot seat. He's got one more game. It's against Cal. It's actually
at UCLA.
Yeah, it's actually the last game of the Pac-12 existence as we know it today. Cal and UCLA is the final game.
Could you? Think about that guy's career. He was like the innovator of so much offense, and was amazing at Oregon. Then went to the NFL. Was with the Eagles. Then all of a sudden, people didn't like him, and he gets fired. And then then he goes somewhere else, and then UCLA. I don't know. I feel like I'm missing somewhere, but
he went from the Eagles to UCLA. Well, not straight in. I think he did some TV gigs before he came back to UCLA.
And now that, Bama's got things going with their offensive coordinator doing so well, maybe there's not an offensive coordinator job for him to slide into as part of the rehabilitation program. But he could always help, in other areas. The funny thing is that he's kind of one of those coaches that a lot of the other coaches call and ask about plays because he knows them so well. And so but UCLA is a tough place. They're not giving you any NIL money. It's not UCLA Troy Aikman days. I mean, this isn't.
Do you remember that Chip Kelly was down to UCLA in Florida as to where he was going?
Yeah.
Florida was going to hire Chip Kelly.
They should have.
Yeah. They were looking at it, and it was a situation where I think Chip Kelly chose UCLA for two reasons. One, he's a West Coast guy, even though he spent time in New Hampshire. He still was just enjoyed his time on the West Coast. But also he didn't want to live in the Florida fishbowl. He didn't want to live in that SEC life where, if you've watched Swamp Kings, I think is what it's called on Netflix. Great show.
Yeah.
Great show. But Urban Meyer literally talks about how he goes into a restaurant and they boo him after they lost. I think it was to South Carolina in his first year.
That's good
Chip
though.
Kelly
I think that's a that's a way to treat your head coach.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to think. Did we ever boo? I guess somebody threw a brick through Bill Curry's window after a loss. I don't even remember what game it was. Maybe like that loss to Georgia Tech or something. Iron Bowl. I don't know.
Iron Bowl, probably. I would think it's the Iron Bowl.
Yeah.
Never beat Alabama or never beat Auburn.
No, just like Mike Shula.
I saw another interesting stat today. Did you know that a top 10 Bama team has only lost to an unranked Auburn team one time ever?
Oh, no.
Can you name the year?
Oh, man.
It's since Bear.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like, could it have been 93?
No.
95?
Auburn was ranked in 93.
Okay.
Auburn was actually top 10 and Bama was barely outside the top 10.
All right.
It was 2002. Coach Fran. Alabama was top 10. Yeah, Alabama was top 10 playing at home, lost 17-7 to unranked Auburn.
Wasn't that then all of a sudden he made his break for Texas A&M? Like,
yeah,
he looked a lot like Auburn did last week, where maybe there was something else on his mind besides getting ready for a football game.
Yeah, because that was a game where he lost that game. Nobody could believe it because Alabama was the superior team that year. Bama won 10 games that year.
Yep.
That
was his 10-win season.
Yeah. Bama goes to Hawaii the week after, plays Hawaii as remember, that was the bowl game.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were on probation.
Right.
They go to Hawaii, play out there. I actually went to that game.
Were they on double secret probation or just regular probation?
Yeah, right. Good question. And so Fran, that was it though. Like he bolted. He bolted after that.
How did that work out for him?
Not well. All I know is that Oklahoma hung 77 on him.
That was awesome.
The next year.
It was like 77 zip.
Yeah, it was. And that was early in the fourth quarter. They called off the dogs.
Yeah. One of those one of those wow type deals.
This quickly is what the playoff would look like next year.
Okay.
If we
you love doing this. You love doing this.
The 12. I love it because it just gets me excited for a year from now.
Okay.
So
throw it up there.
Bam, I don't have it. I'm reading it.
Okay. All right.
We need a producer. We need more super chats so that we can have a producer. So 8-9, the 8-9 game would be Bama, Missouri with the winner. That would be in Tuscaloosa with the winner playing Georgia.
Oh.
5-12 would be Michigan in the Big House hosting Tulane, the Green Wave.
Wow.
The winner playing
Must watch TV in these first two games, let me tell you.
Winner playing Florida State. The bottom half of the bracket, the 7-10 would be Texas and Louisville in Austin.
Okay.
The winner would play Ohio State. And then the last first round matchup would be Oregon hosting Penn State with the winner playing Washington.
Wow.
So if you look past like those first round matchups, not much to them. I mean, Oregon, Penn State may be cool from a uniform perspective.
Yeah.
The second round is interesting, though. You'd have Bama, Georgia in the second round. And then Florida State, Michigan would be interesting. Ohio State, Texas. That would be a game. That would be fun. And then Washington, Oregon with – you got to remember, too, like these are pulled based simply on the rankings right now because obviously these teams would play each other in conference championships and kind of reshuffle the deck. But there's going to be some really cool matchups that we normally wouldn't see. So I'd rather watch. Would you rather watch Michigan Tulane in a meaningful game, or would you rather watch Iowa State and Arizona play in the Cheez-It Bowl?
I mean, I don't know. Those first round games are going to be, I mean, they're not going to be that good. But you know what? I mean, this is what everyone wants,
Meaningful football. It'll be fun.
Yeah. I'm going to put Stevens up here. He says, basically Bama needs to win and they're going to be in. Like he's confident. Like you win the SEC, you beat Georgia. Georgia's got one of the longest winning streaks in conference history. They're back-to-back national champions. You take care of Auburn, you take care of Georgia, and Alabama's in.
Yeah. I mean, it is hard.
Is it that easy? Is it that easy?
It's hard to imagine Alabama going 12-1 as an SEC champion with its only loss to top 10 Texas and beating Georgia and being left out of a playoff. That's hard to believe, but there's a path for that. There really is. 3 undefeateds and then a 12-1 Texas Big 12 champion.
You're not going to have anyone that'll be the best win of any team in the country all season long.
Yeah.
I mean, and there's no question about it. I mean, you just dethroned the champ, and they haven't lost in 2 years since you beat them last time.
Yeah.
And the only reason that they didn't lose last year is because the committee kept Alabama out. They were one of the 4 best teams, but they had 2 losses, and the losses weigh heavy. So you lost on 2 last-second plays, like a 2-point conversion and a field goal, and you got kept out because of that. But that's the precedent.
I'm scrolling through the chats because I'm trying to catch up with some of you guys now because I love the comments and the interaction. It's so much fun. we got a duck. We got a lost duck flying around down here in the chats who literally didn't figure out that the Bama Tailgate Daily was a Bama channel. And he said, so he says he just noticed, let's throw it up here. I just noticed it was a Bama chat, totally different narrative in other chats. Thank God. I think he's just mad that Oregon shouldn't be 6. They haven't beaten anybody. They've beaten no one.
Yeah.
The schedule's extremely.
That's funny.
Weak.
He flew into the wrong formation.
Yeah.
A duck in a herd of elephant.
Yeah.
In a crimson wave. Yeah.
Here's B. Lee. B. Lee's the one that owes me. B. Lee is my bet.
Well, yep. But all of it doesn't matter. I mean, it's still just insane that we're looking at the same 8 teams at the top of this thing.
It is.
But look, we're gonna have some changes next week. I mean, Michigan. What if Michigan? Did this piss you off? If Michigan and Ohio State play, and the loser is ranked above Alabama.
Well, that's such a great topic, actually. All right, so let's think about that for a second. After this week, let's predict
Blow
what
your
they're going to
top.
be. Let's go and predict what they're going to be next Tuesday. Okay, so because that'll be the final show before the unveiling,
Right.
is next Tuesday. So Ohio State, Michigan, the loser. Basically, how far do they fall?
That's got to be like a classic. If Ohio State gets their ass kicked again, they're going to fall all the way back to, above Missouri.
It still wouldn't matter though. Like, let's say Ohio State lost to Michigan on the road. I think Michigan's 3.5-point favorite, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Even if Ohio State fell to say 7 or 6 and they just slapped Bama in the face and said, no, you're stuck right here at 8 still, Ohio State's season would be done. And so Bama would still have the Georgia game, which would leapfrog them over Ohio State. So it really won't matter, but it would maybe send a subliminal message.
Yeah.
That would kind of suck.
It's like if Florida won like 13-12, or excuse me, Florida State won 13-12 or 14-13. Yeah. What if you had a really bad win? Could that make it to where they're going, these one-loss teams are better? Remember the year that Tua got hurt and there was a lot of talk about Alabama with Mac Jones. Remember Mac Jones? And then he went down to the Iron Bowl and threw the pick 6. He actually had a decent game.
Pick sixes.
Yeah, 2 of them, but the one of them was horrible. One of them, I don't know, hit the guy in the back. I mean, just weird stuff happens down there. But
Smoke Monday. That was Smoke Monday.
That's the last time we lost.
Yeah. Yeah, Bama's got a chance to win for the 4th consecutive time for the first time since Bear Bryant. In the 70s going into the 80s, late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah. Never been nothing but a winner.
Does Bama bring back the Crimson Crane on Saturday?
Yeah.
Do they?
They sure do. They've been hinting about it in the
They
press
asked
conference.
Malachi Moore about it. He said, "Oh no, we'll have to see."
Yeah.
Kind of played coy.
The
there.
Crimson Crane. Have we seen it this year? A little bit, right?
I think they still do it. Some.
Do you do it when you knock down the sale in Modern Mortgage? You guys like do that?
We did do it 2 years ago in the kitchen.
Did you?
Yeah, I got my 5-year-old to do it.
Oh, nice.
That was pretty cool. No, that's a good one though. Maybe we should do that. Crimson Crane whenever we close a house
instead of hitting the gong.
Yeah. Gong is more boiler roomish. If we get a deal closed, we do the crane at the closing table.
Well, maybe both. You hit the gong after the crane. I hope that I hope that it comes back. I think Auburn's going to play a much better brand of football. I mean, they're going to tackle. They're going to be spirited. But if Alabama gets ahead of them, everything could unravel. When the coach talks about your team and goes, "Yeah, I don't really know if these guys how they're going to bounce back," and I think that Hugh Freeze has been really honest about this team and their limitations. I look at it and go, okay, you could definitely. You could definitely turn this into a, we're just ready for the season to end type thing if you get out on them early. And that's my hope.
Yeah, I know Alabama fans absolutely love the fact that New Mexico State beat Auburn. I enjoyed it. It was great. I mean, just watching them get that ass whipped. But it is a terrible thing that happened for Alabama.
What are they? What's their mascot? Aggies?
The Aggies.
Okay, that's what I thought.
The Aggies, absolutely. They were 0-24 in program history against SEC teams before Saturday afternoon.
Right.
But it's one of those that, if Bama sneaks out a close one, I don't think people will recognize it as a rivalry game as much as, Bama just beat a team in the last quarter by 7 or 10 or 4 that got smoked by New Mexico State the week before.
Right.
I do think Bama, because Auburn lost that game, if Auburn had come out and smoked New Mexico State and had a 4-game winning streak and they were 7-4 going into the game and, okay, then you just get a win, get out of there.
Yeah.
But as much joy as there was in watching New Mexico State win, it actually puts a little more pressure on Alabama with I'll give you the style points for this week because they do need a little bit of that.
Yeah.
We know how tough it is, but they need to show the world.
Well, I mean, we had a caller on the postgame show, Robert, say that weeks ago, and he was right, and they're getting the style points. I mean, how many times have you seen Alabama score 66 on a team, even if they're from the FCS? It doesn't happen much, but they're dominant right now, and I think they're getting better and better each week. Their defense isn't perfect. You don't get the shutouts like you used to. You know, there's somebody's going to make a play, and even against UTC, I mean, you're giving up points. They had some big plays in the game. But I love the fact that Alabama, just the way that this team plays, you know, even if a guy gets loose in a game like that with a big lead, they're going to run him down and throw him out of bounds and really make you earn it, you know, to get into the end zone. It's a fun team to watch because of the effort that they give.
Yep.
And it's been enjoyable watching Coach Saban kind of enjoy the team, you know, and the fact that it hasn't been as much about expectations this year as much as it's been just doing the things that you got to do to be successful, which is what he's always liked, right? Going through the process.
Well, and earlier in the week, or I guess yesterday, I say earlier, yesterday in his Monday press conference, you know, he came out and immediately said that. He said, we took care of business. He said, we beat a team and handled it the way we were supposed to handle it.
Yeah.
And a lot of times after those games, he'll step back and go, well, we didn't do this right. And we didn't respect the opponent. And we didn't execute here. And we missed this assignment. And we did this and we did that. And really, he came in and said, we respected the opponent. And that's why we kicked their ass.
Yeah.
Like he didn't use those words exactly, but that was his tone. That was his meaning behind saying that. And I'm with you. You said this Sunday, this team's locked in. Their standard is what they're fighting against.
That's right.
That's it. They're not worried about anything else. They literally are fighting against the standard. And it's really cool that Saban, we talked about this as well, that Saban, we say, is this his greatest coaching job, especially if they go 12-1 and win the SEC? Is this his best coaching job? I said to you, and it wasn't my thought, it was somebody else. I said to you, is it though? Because this team is still loaded,
right,
with 4 and 5 stars all over the field. We just don't have the breakout guy. And Milroe has become the guy, but we still don't have. I love Jace, but he's not the breakout guy. He's not the backs we've had in the past. We don't have the receivers that we've had in the past. We don't even have the tight ends as much as I'm on board with Dupree and technically Nyblack. Like, we don't have the guys right now who are separating themselves on a national scale. But this may be his best motivational job.
Right.
Because he has the talent on the field, but this may be the best motivational, energetic, you know, mindset coaching job that he had, because of, again, just nobody's really like the guy, but they keep winning and they keep dominating.
Yeah. But that's part of the legend.
Yeah, for sure.
How about Paul Feinbaum was ready for him to be run out of town going into that Ole Miss game? Remember, we were all going to turn on Saban?
He's clickbait, man. He's just clickbait. So
there's people I love that watch that guy every day, call into the show. Like, they're so bought in on him. And it's just like, oh, man, this guy. He's tried to turn on Saban so many times over the years, and it just ends up like, you know, then the next week he'll say the exact opposite thing to what he's saying. Well, I saw the game this week, and you know what? Saban still got it.
Didn't he and Saban get into it at SEC Media Days a few years ago?
I'm sure.
I feel like they did. There was like a Twitter video that was from a distance, and it was shot from behind the stage where you could see Feinbaum and Saban sitting up there. And anyway, Saban got up and was leaving, and he just had a couple of things to say, and you don't know what was said. We don't have that audio or anything. It was just more their body language and the way things were handled as he was leaving.
Yeah.
But yeah, Nick wasn't happy. He wasn't happy about something.
I'd love to see him just get like 10 minutes to yell at Feinbaum. But, part of what you said about Feinbaum, it's that, I mean, he's just going to say whatever, like you with the clickbait stuff. And then, we're going to chew on it. And honestly, it is entertainment. And I think that as long as you keep that, kind of at the forefront, like that's what he's supposed to do, get conversation started and, and he does a nice job with his interviews. And I would love, I've seen Coach get fired up at people before. I would love to see that.
Well, we've seen him do what you call the lectures.
Yeah.
But we haven't seen as many this year.
No, because he's been happy.
He has.
Remember, we were glad that there came a point, Chad, where we were glad that he was on his way to Starkville, stopped in Gordo. Well, at least the bus was, and they picked up angry Saban.
They did.
That was this season. That was
Miss Terry. Miss Terry told him that you got to get on their ass if they're not doing things right, and he did. That was great. That was finally the game where everybody almost wondered if Saban was doing like a farewell tour, because he was just like happy-go-lucky, all shucks, smiling, laughing. And remember before the season, everyone said, if Saban's acting like this, look out.
Yeah.
Like, this team is dangerous.
Yeah, I was one of those people.
We all were. The season started and they sucked for 4 weeks.
I know.
Figured it out.
I got some breaking news for you, or at least something from On3, our friends at On3. They say that Texas A&M star wide receiver Evan Stewart is a strong candidate to enter his name into the transfer portal. Stewart is not expected to travel with the Aggies to LSU this weekend. Alabama is considered the team to beat, with Ohio State, Texas, and Oregon amongst others.
Wow. If you're a star wide receiver,
you ought to have you. Come on,
Alabama. Yeah, because Alabama doesn't have the breakout guy right now. Jermaine Burton's had the best year. But let's face it, you say what you want, but Burton hasn't had the year of any of the other guys that we've had in the past. Even Mechie and Jameson, of course, the four studs, Devontae, Jalen, Ruggs, and Judy. I mean, we haven't seen that in the last couple of years.
Which guy would you say reminds you of Julio Jones
on the current roster?
Yeah. Which guy would you say reminds you of Calvin Ridley? Amari Cooper.
Well,
you know what the answer is? None of them.
Trick question. I was trying to force. I was trying to force it.
You know what? Though there's been moments though where they have looked like that. Burton had the game at Texas A&M, and you're like, man, I mean, this guy. And then he gets the penalty and then he fumbles. So none of those guys ever got a personal foul penalty in a game like that. They just kept catching the ball and handed it to the official. I thought that there's been a bunch of different guys that have made plays. And I think that what I really like about this receiving core is they catch the ball. Like Saban said at the beginning of the year, don't give me the my bads. We don't want any of the my bads. Receivers are here to catch the ball. That's why you're called receivers. And they've done a really nice job of catching the balls. Even if it's just a couple plays in a game, those guys still catch. And I think that's been really nice.
Yeah. It's really interesting because I thought, especially after 2 years ago, that Ja'Cory Brooks, I keep waiting for the breakout guy. Because Ja'Cory Brooks emerged as the freshman who caught the game-tying touchdown against Auburn on the road.
Beautiful catch.
Great, right? And then didn't really see him after that in anything. National championship,
Yeah,
SEC championship. Mechie and Williams just had such a great game
that was awesome.
Nobody else was really stepping in because those two kind of took over. But Ja'Cory Brooks just there was a guy like last year. I just kept waiting for him. Isaiah Bond. A lot of people kept. Okay, when's he stepping up? Now to me, he has shown the ability to break away and get the most open.
Right.
Fast. Like and I think that's what everyone's excitement was with him, is that he has just such great speed. And that first play second play of the second half against Tennessee, that's the Isaiah Bond we all thought that we were going to see all the time.
Yeah.
Break free, get behind the safeties, wide open, deep ball.
Yeah.
Nyblack has been great as far as a versatile tight end.
Yeah.
But again, just and look at other guys like Jalen Hill,
Yeah.
Malik Benson. These are guys that we thought were going to take off. And I see some of the comments and talking about we got guys running wide open and Milroe's missing them and all this stuff. I don't see guys wide open all the time. I don't. I'm not saying Milroe, he doesn't miss a pass or two. Of course he does. But I haven't seen guys who are just standing open.
Right. Well, let me say this. And we've kind of had this discussion, in the comment section after some of our videos. Milroe's job is to do what Saban wants him to do. And that is to manage and not try to not to try to do too much. Right. And do the things that he's really capable of doing. And the thing that he's capable of doing is throwing the deep ball. He's got a beautiful deep ball. So I think it starts with that. And then the other thing that he does amazingly well is run, but is he throwing guys open? I don't know. Like, do you want him trying to make, difficult passes? No, just if it's not there, don't force it. If a guy isn't open, I would rather him just take the safe pass instead of trying to do too much right now. He's gotten a lot better. And honestly, he's the reason why Alabama's at this spot right now where they have an opportunity to beat Auburn and go 11-1 in the regular season because he's gotten so much better. But there's still some weaknesses in his game. I mean, the middle of the field is still a weakness to him.
Yeah.
But he's better. He's way better than he was at the beginning of the year. Way better.
He is. Also, too, I love I like the running backs. I think I maybe expected more from the running backs this year. I was really excited the way Jace ran last year as a compliment to Jahmyr Gibbs.
Yeah.
But he hasn't stepped up as like that guy in the prime role. Like when you look at Jace, you go, he's good. He's a really good running back.
Right.
But
he's had some big games, but then he's disappeared in others. Chad, this one's for you. Bama Rockstar wanted to ask, are y'all behind or something? Because the rankings came out an hour ago.
I don't get it.
Rockstar, look, Bama Rockstar, he's just up here BSing. We can't get him to shut off the feed. He just wants to keep he's here for your entertainment.
I guess.
Are we calling him a clown? Yes, he's here for your pleasure. We actually started the show before the rankings came out. We've been on the air for 53 minutes and 15 seconds. So it's not just the just seeing what the rankings are. It's just kind of like the discussion that goes along with it too, that we try to do on a Tuesday night. But great question. Yeah, the rankings came out. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good. I don't
when
know.
Milroe runs, though, look, when Milroe runs, and I see Bama Rockstars kind of talking about Milroe. When he runs, it makes the job easier on the offensive line because those guys that are just like blowing right past Proctor, run right by him. And then when he runs by you, it's 35 yards or a touchdown, So that's kind of the great equalizer. And the offensive line's gotten better too. I mean, Saban has said it. The blocking's gotten better. This team they're improving each week. Now, look, this is a tough game on Saturday, but my thought is they'll make some mistakes like they have all year, but they'll do a lot of things right. And I think that when it comes when it comes down to it, they'll be ready to go.
No, I agree. I mean, this team has gotten better. Again, it's a group of, if you got 22 on the field, how many would you say are like really, really stand out? You know, I said this the other night off the show, Mick, just me and you chatting. I said, the media, nobody on the national media, we don't have that guy that goes, oh, Bryce Young in Alabama going down to the Plains this week. Like, Milroe has just kind of become that guy in the last month, right? Like, he hasn't been that guy.
No.
There's no Derrick Henry. There's no Devontae Smith. There's no Tua.
Why did people call him Devonta Smith?
I don't know.
Did you ever notice that? Some people were like, Devonta Smith.
I think that's actually how he spells it, isn't it? But I don't know.
But it's Devontae Smith.
It is. But Bama's got a couple of those guys on defense, and they would say that with Will Anderson. Remember how much does it not feel like, it does to me anyway? Maybe I'm wrong or sensitive here, but it feels like Will Anderson got more hype than Dallas Turner gets.
Yeah, and I wasn't down with that last year too. You know, I saw Aaron Suttles on a show, and he was like, you know, they ought to retire Will Anderson's number. You know, and I was like, are you kidding me?
No.
Like, as much respect as I have for Aaron, and I've known him forever, and I think he does a great job. So this isn't a shot at him, but dude, come on, man. Like, what are you gonna go back and retire Derek Thomas's number? How about Biscuit's number? How about, you know, Joe Namath's number? How about, I mean, if you retired numbers at Alabama, it would not start with Will Anderson Jr., and we wouldn't have any numbers to play with.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine? Like, you know, we were thinking about it the other day. I said 22. Ryan Anderson does the Elephant in the Room podcast in here. He was a 22. Mark Ingram was a 22. And you start going through, and somebody sent me like a list of the 22s. And it was like, you could have retired it on any of those guys.
You know? Still got your DJ Hall jersey?
Yeah. Yeah. was he 22?
He was 22 also.
Run down to the other team's student section and do this.
Yeah.
We don't do that anymore, do we?
No. There'd be a lot of retired numbers. That's for sure if you started going down that list.
Yeah. But it wouldn't start with Will Anderson. But he got a lot of credit last year. He's a very good player. But he wasn't the difference maker last year that Dallas Turner's been this year. You know, Dallas Turner has been a machine. And you go back to the games where Alabama needed a big play, he gave you the big play. When you needed to sack against Texas A&M, he ran through, you know, blocks and got the sack. When you needed to play against, what was it, Ole Miss, he did the same thing. Or maybe it was Arkansas, when Alabama was reeling, you know, and all of a sudden, think about how bad that situation was as to where we are right now, that second half. But when you needed a big play, he basically just manhandled the offensive line and, you know, and made the sack.
I think you blame Pete Golding, because I do. Kevin Steele has brought more pressure this year and given more opportunities to the defense with the schemes and the intensity compared to what Pete did.
Right.
That I would love to see Will Anderson playing in a Kevin Steele defense. I really do think that's a piece of it. And Will Anderson, yeah, I'm with you on last year. But he's obviously amazing because he went top in the draft. And
right. How's his NFL season been?
He's playing really well.
Is it good for him? I mean, I like him. I'm not putting him down at all. I'm just saying there's a lot of good players. And this year's team, you know, maybe you don't have the hype around these guys. And this is what I told you, and you said this to me off the air. I said, there's a lot of really good players on this team. I mean, sure, Malachi Moore is a great player. Kool-Aid, not fielding punts, but obviously, you know, covering guys is good or great. I love Chris Braswell, you know, just the way that he plays, the way that he gets pressure. You mentioned Dallas Turner. That defense is just so solid in so many different spots right now. You know, they're a very tough group. And then on offense, you know, you got a bunch of guys on there. No one that, like you said, there's no like superstars right now, although Milroe is kind of becoming that. I mean, when you score 4 touchdowns on the ground for the first time in school history, and then the next week you come back with 3 touchdowns on the ground and 3 passing touchdowns, you got to stand up and take notice. Like, okay, but you know what? Is that going to continue against Auburn? Is that going to continue against Georgia's defense? I mean, so there's a lot more out there to be done. But he's not Bryce Young. And somebody I saw in the chat, and you're exactly right, is if the receivers would have caught the ball like these guys have this year, instead of dropping it like they did so much last season, Alabama would have won the national championship last year.
Yeah. Well, and that game in Indianapolis, which is what I thought they were referring to, maybe both, that game I was there, and that was really frustrating.
That was terrible.
Yeah, because Alabama, especially when Jamison Williams went down, it's like, okay, who's going to step up? And I may be butchering his first name, but
you're talking about it's Agiye Hall. Agiye Hall.
Okay, Agiye Hall.
And let me jump in right here, because this is a learning lesson for you. Like you're wanting to jump in and be on these videos, and I said, hey, when you get your chance, don't be like Agiye Hall. Because he was tweeting, he couldn't get into games. He was so upset. You remember that whole season, like every time you turned around, it was something with this guy. Then like he gets in and then he's trying to catch the ball like this, like it's hitting him with his hands crossed the wrong way. Like he just get out of here. No, I'm just kidding. You've never complained about videos, but you know what I mean? You get it when you get your opportunity, you got to be ready for it. And if it's in the national championship game, you got to be ready. And you're right. Those guys weren't. But last year, there were a lot of drops, too.
Saban said that, after that national championship game, he talked to the team and said, this is why you go and you prepare and practice and you treat it like a game and you push and you train and you do all the things that we try to tell you, because you never know when your number is going to get called.
That's right.
And he specifically talked about, if there were guys, and Hall is probably one, I believe Jaleel Billingsley was another one. If those guys had done what they were supposed to do and treated the opportunity that they were given with a little more, you call it respect, then that team could have been in a better position to win the national championship with a bunch of backup receivers on the field. But they didn't do that, and they didn't live up to the challenge when their number was called. And you could see them, Mick. They got in there that night. It was deer in headlights, man.
Oh, I know.
Deer in headlights. And Hall trying to catch it this way. Yeah, it was terrible. Drop passes, routes ran the wrong way, not in sync with Bryce. Couldn't catch a cold near the goal line.
I know.
Terrible.
Well, these guys have helped Milroe out a lot. But it hasn't been one guy. It's been a collective group of guys.
Yep.
And and this is like Frank said, this is about team. It's not the Bryce and the Will Anderson show. And that's the other thing we talked about off the air. What makes a great team is when you think about when Saban was at LSU, and we didn't know who he was. You play LSU and you're like, how's this guy winning? He looks like the guy from Penn and Teller. And I'm saying, I'm going all the way back to when, and then you're like, well, they don't really have any. Like, you didn't look at those teams. They didn't have like superstars. But then you would play them and you'd be like, man, the third string's not much worse than the second string.
Yeah.
And the starters are always in position. And they're tough and they're physical. And they play selfless. And you lose to him. And then all of a sudden, like, he just kept on building from that. And then it turned into star players playing like that, and I think that's what this team has. You still have a bunch of 4- and 5-star talents, but these guys play selfless. And I love watching it. They're not sitting around waiting on Bryce Young to make a drive. I mean, like, they just do it. At least they haven't played that way yet. It's a great comment, Frank.
Yep. Kind of looking at some of the others. I forgot about.
Here, let me throw this up because you're a master of this right here. Mark wants to know, what's the ticket situation for Saturday. Chad's actually been incarcerated before on illegal ticket sales at a national championship game. So if there's anyone that's an expert, on the game of flipping tickets.
I can tell you what not to do in New Orleans.
It's a weird state that you're not allowed to sell a ticket for over face value there.
You are. It was a trick. It was entrapment, because you are allowed to sell in New Orleans. You just can't be within a certain distance of the Superdome.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was on one corner and I didn't know the law. And if I had just simply been across the street, I was good. But I wasn't. I was on the other side of the street. So I watched LSU.
Did they cuff and stuff you?
They threw me in the holding cell in the bottom of the Superdome, and I watched LSU and Ohio State in January of 08, the 07 season, 08 champion, or 07 championship, 08 whatever bowl, Sugar Bowl. I watched it from downstairs.
So did they had the TV on for you guys though?
They did. It was me and like 3, security Barney Fifes down there and one other guy.
So was it just scalpers, or I mean, did some drunk guys get in there with you? I mean, like, hey, we had a fight, or like somebody else tried to use a fake ticket. I mean, who were the other convicts in there with you?
There was only one other guy. I don't even know what he was in there for, to be honest. I have no clue. I know he had his cell phone in there, and I'm like, how'd you get your cell phone in here, man? Like, mine's out there on the table. Like, how'd you get your phone in here? And he just looked at me and said, shut the hell up. And I'm like, okay, my bad.
Yeah.
Did you tell him? I wasn't about to.
Is that when you told everybody, you were a karate man?
Yeah.
I'm a karate man.
Whatever you need, man. I'm good. Like, just leave me alone.
You ever seen Trading Spaces?
Yes.
Trading Places. I mean, Eddie Murphy.
Yes.
So he was a hardened criminal. Like you didn't need.
He was actually pretty cool. He just didn't want me talking about his phone.
Right.
All right. Looks like.
So what happened? What about the tickets? Did they take the tickets?
Oh, they took them. Yeah, they took them. They took them. I was out the tickets, out the money.
You probably had a couple of cops sitting in your seats.
Probably, yeah. And then I parlayed it because they drove us downtown so that they could book us, and all we did was basically sit in what looked like a giant lobby, and we just sat there and waited. And then it was over, or my dad, one of his friends came and they picked us up, and we went back to the hotel. And then I decided to parlay my bad luck for the night and went over to Harrah's Casino and lost everything I had. So it was a great night.
Yeah. So you got out. Did you get out before the game was over?
No. I pretty much watched the entire game on a small TV in that lobby.
So then what happened? Did you have to go back there for court, or would they drop the charges? I mean, what happened then?
No, we just paid the fine. It was like a $300 fine or something.
What?
Yeah.
You were in jail for a $300 fine?
Yeah, something like that. We just
you
paid it on the way out.
This sounds like some bullshit.
It was.
You can walk down the street there with a beer open and shotgunning, and people. I mean, I've been on Bourbon Street, and women are just pulling their clothes off, and you try to scalp a ticket on the wrong side of the road, and you're the guy in jail.
And I was sober.
Sober.
Okay. So here's one funny part of being in the holding cell in the Superdome is I'm sitting down.
Let's just call it the clink. Can we call it the clink for the show?
Yeah, that's fine. We're in the clink. And I'm like pissed. And it's LSU Ohio State. And so there was this one lady who was a cop sitting out there at the table, and her and I became friends. And because I would sit there and I was just talking shit back and forth with her about LSU and Ohio State. And they're all LSU fans.
Well, of course.
So I'm pulling now to piss them off, which was stupid of me too. I'm pulling for Ohio State at this point. Yeah. I'm openly pulling for Ohio State while the game's going on. And so this woman,
that's probably why they didn't let you out.
Probably so. So she makes a comment or two, and I just looked at her at one point. I remember like sitting back against the concrete bench, in the cage like a dog, and I'm like folding my arms. I'm like, I was like, Miss, I don't remember what her name was, but I was like, ma'am, this is unbelievable. She's like, what you talking about? I said, you know what? I said, all I did was scalp tickets, and I'm sitting down here watching the game with you. And Ryan Perilou, if you remember that guy for the LSU football team, he out here stabbing people and running zone reads out there on the football field right now. Even she couldn't quit laughing at that one.
Hey,
So,
do you remember those Louisiana? Did you see the video of the Louisiana cops and they're talking about the gang called the Gremlins?
no.
Did you ever see that? Oh my God. I may have to pull this up. Just because it's so worth it. I mean, I don't even know why we're even here right now, but
I didn't see that one. But that was a long, rough night. That was no fun. That was bad all the way around. Thanks for bringing that back up, though.
Well, I'm going to see if I can find this for you before we. I would love to do you this favor and, pop up the Gremlins. Hey, Gremlins! It's like I just want people to see what you were dealing with, because obviously they kind of thought you were one of the Gremlins.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
When you have these woke revolutions, it requires all of them.
All right. As soon as this guy's off, I'm going to pop him up there.
You got YouTube ads over there?
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Responsible for hundreds of violent crimes, murders, armed robberies, witness intimidation, burglaries, drug trafficking, extortion.
This is so good, guys. Yeah.
Arrested 10 of these thugs and have warrants on 7 more. Every one of these animals is most definitely armed and dangerous. Darren Carter, beatings.
All right, I'm going to start it from the beginning.
Burglaries, drug trafficking.
Can't get this up here fast enough.
And brutal beatings. We've arrested 10 of these thugs and have warrants on 7 more.
There you go.
Every one of these animals is most definitely armed and dangerous. Darren Carter, Aaron Carter, Travis Cooper, Cody Guidry, Jaron Diggs, Kirkland Demochet, and
Chad Anderson.
Landry. We have felony warrants for your arrest.
Just wait.
You will be hunted. You will be tracked. And if you
This is Louisiana law enforcement.
Like me, we'll return fire with superior fire. Darren Carter, you think men like these are afraid of an uneducated, 125-pound punk like you that's never won a fair fight in your life and holds your gun sideways? Young man, I'll meet you on solid ground anytime, anywhere. Light or heavy, makes no difference to me. You won't walk away. Look at you. Men like us, son, we do dumbbell presses with weights bigger than you. And the convicts in jail, most of those men are good people who just found themselves.
All right, so you get the point. You get the point.
And they don't respect you.
That was Captain Higgins, and that's right around the time that they were out there enforcing you as part of the Gremlins. I can't hear you. Are you muted?
Sorry, I muted myself.
Yeah. So funny.
No,
That's Louisiana, though.
That is. It is. I didn't get arrested by that guy that night. But the guy I had wasn't friendly.
Yeah. That's law enforcement down there. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. I think we've done enough here today. Anything else you want to say before we bid everyone farewell? One thing I want to tell you guys is this. I should have probably told you this earlier. Is right now, newlifeart.com with the promo code Bama Tailgate, 25% off your entire order. Any order, 25% off, newlifeart.com. So that's, you're like right here. I got Eddie Lacy running over the Notre Dame Gremlins. And then I've got this one right here. This is the 2020 when Bama ran over the Ohio State Gremlins. And then you got up here, Alabama over LSU and all the great Daniel Moore prints. So nice. 25% off right now, Bama Tailgate.
Sweet. Final thought, Oregon is a sham. It's just
Oregon is the Gremlins.
It's a sham. It's an absolute sham. There's not Louisville's resume is better than Oregon's.
Right.
Louisville has a top 25 win. They beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Louisville's resume is better. I think Louisville beat NC State too. Louisville's got 2 top 25 wins. Oregon's got 0. Oregon's got as much chance or as many wins as the guy does chance who's 125 pounds and points his gun sideways at whatever officer that is.
Right.
It's stupid, man. I don't know. We'll see next Tuesday. But yeah, that's the problem. Oregon's the problem.
Well, look, guys, thanks for hanging out with us again. We will be back tomorrow, 6:00 for the Nick Saban press conference. We'll play that for you and react to it as we get closer and closer to the Iron Bowl. We've even got a special coming up Thursday, our Thanksgiving Egg Bowl watch party. We're just going to get on here and pretty much do the same thing and kind of cut it up with you guys. So thanks for hanging out with us. Make sure that you like and subscribe. Roll Tide. Keep hope alive. I think Alabama's going to figure out a way. It's just going to be very dramatic for them to get into the college football playoff. So we'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Roll Tide, everybody.